run streak. They can be a great way to increase your motivation and discipline. You go out there and you run every single day. At the same time, they can quickly become a trap, leading to bad decision, dumb decision that can lead to injuries. Basically, they're a double-edged sword. So today I want to discuss with you about running streak, my opinion about them, and how you could structure them a little bit differently so that you can maximize the impact in terms of consistency and discipline, but at the same time making the smart decision that will improve your running and make sure that you stay healthy. Hi, Simon here. Welcome to my channel. I'm an ultra runner with almost 60 100-mile ultra marathon under my belt. On this channel, I provide tips to help you get out there and have your own adventure. And running is fun, but sometimes running can be tough. Sometimes it's hard to be regular. Whether it's a lack of motivation, but sometimes it can be bad weather or simply life is busy, you don't have time and you skip your training. And that's where running streak are great. It's a great tool to circumvent that because you don't have the choice anymore to go for your run or not. You're going for a run and you will find that time. But at the same time, the other thing that is really tough with running is not just regularity, but it's also injury prevention and finding the right training volume. If you train too much, you're gonna get injured. If you don't train enough, you will not improve. And finding the middle ground is very difficult because it's very dynamic. Your target will change. Maybe this week 70 miles would be great. Maybe next week it's 50 miles. So sometimes you need to adjust your running to reduce the risk of injury or increase it to increase the benefits. And so depending on what you struggle most as a runner, running streak can be a great tool or the dumbest thing ever. If you're someone who's very self-disciplined and you find the time, you go out there and you go find your time, you wake up early in the morning, no matter what, you go for your run, maybe a running streak is not a great idea for you. If on the other hand, you struggle with long-term motivation and consistency, a running streak is a great way to kickstart and get into the good habit of going out there. But there's a lot of trap about that, and that's why I'm making this video today to help you frame it in a positive way so that you will get the best benefit. So what's a running streak anyway? There's a few definitions, so let's align on that. The common definition is you go run 1 mile every day. It doesn't matter the pace, but you do at least 1 mile every single day. It doesn't matter the pace, it doesn't matter when, it matters that every single calendar day you do it. And so what are the pros to that? Well, the pros are pretty obvious, right? It's a single mile every day. You can, of course, do more than that, but you can do as little as 1 mile. So you don't have the choice of, am I going for a run today or not? You are going for a run. The question is how far and how fast, and you will adjust that. So it's really creating consistency and it's removing one extra decision that you have to make every day. And that means that low motivation, low discipline, high discipline, doesn't matter. You go and you do it. The other reason is that that's typically the best way to have a very high mileage when it comes to weekly mileage. If you run every single day, you'll accumulate more miles. And rest days, I say you don't take rest days, but obviously people that do run streak, sometimes they will say that, well, sometimes I'll just go for a 1 mile, maybe 12-minute mile, and that's my rest day. So you have a form of resting that is not absolute rest, but is relative rest. And just to say it, one of the reasons that run streak are interesting is that it looks very impressive. Saying that, hey, I've run every single day for the past year, 2 years, 3 years, very impressive. Whereas if you say, I've been training for an ultra marathon for the past year, 2 years, 3 years, with training cycle going up to 70 miles a week, it doesn't have the same ring to it. But as much as it can be a great tool to increase regularity, there's a lot of cons to running streak. There's a lot more knowledge nowadays as to what optimal training looks like, and there's an understanding that rest days are very important in terms of recovering your muscles so that you can have harder workout on the next day. Going through, peak and trough and having cycle of high mileage, low mileage, having that kind of structure is a little bit more optimal. but you might not be looking for performance, so you might not care about that. The other one associated to that is that you don't have rest days, which can be important, yes, physically, but also just, we have busy life, and sometimes it's helpful to have a day that you don't have to worry about training, you don't have to worry about these things. This is a day that you spend with your loved one, with your family, maybe working, unfortunately. And so it provides a little bit more flexibility when you don't have to go every single day. If you're traveling across the world, I remember going to Ile de la Réunion. I think going there took me 36 hours. The only solution would be to run in a circle in an airport, which again looks great on Instagram, but quite frankly, it's not pleasant and it's not a good workout. So I don't want to do that. The other aspect is that although it's not necessarily true, there's a tendency for people doing run streak to focus much more on quantity rather than quality, to focus much more on total mileage and total number of days that you're running, as opposed to doing interval, hill training, cross training, strength training. Sometimes you will gain so much from just skipping a run and doing some strength training instead. Again, performance might not be your end goal. And finally, by far, I think the biggest issue with run streak are injuries. It's both about causing injury because you don't have proper rest, or aggravating injuries because you go on a run every single day, even if you have a minor ailment. And that's the message that I try to convey very often on this channel is, if you start having issue, you should really address it before it's a big issue. Sometimes it resolves itself, so you don't have to actually take any action, but sometimes that little pain that you have on your heel or your knee or your hip, if you keep going and going and going, something that could have been resolved in 1 or 2 weeks of reduced mileage will lead to several months of PT and just really struggling with getting back to a healthy form. And yeah, even if your goal is not performance, I don't think it's enjoyable to be injured. I don't think it's enjoyable to run when it's painful. Let's talk about the ugly truth.
It's a trap!
And the ugly truth is that any streak will end someday. Yeah, maybe you will die and that's how it ends, but a streak by definition cannot go on forever. It's a matter of how long does it go. Sure, that's fine, and that's what you're working towards. And the danger is that very often people will enter a streak when they're in a low in terms of motivation, or they want to get better at running, and they will go for their streak. And killing a streak when it's 10 days old, 30 days old, who cares? But maybe you push past that. Maybe you get back that motivation, and the streak has been successful in that sense, in giving you a kick in the butt, and that's where streaks are great. And now your streak is 6 months old, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And the issue is that at some point, some of the runs you will have after 3 years of a run streak are simply to keep the streak alive. It's not a run that you enjoy. It's not a run that you benefit in terms of fitness. It's not a run that is safe because you're injured. But man, I have a 3-year streak. I'm not going to kill it. I'm not going to kill my streak because I have a cold. I'm not going to kill my streak because I have sore muscle. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to do my 1 mile, 12, 15-minute mile, and that's it. And that's the trap that happens, because once you made that decision of maybe you have a little bit of an injury and you went, next time you have an injury, you will remember that and you will go again. And I don't want to be too rude because I'm not controversial, but let's do the tapping thing and, run streak make you stupid. You will make a stupid decision at some point in your running streak. It might or might not kill your streak, but you will make a stupid decision. I'm not immune to that. You're not immune to that. It will happen. It's impossible that it won't happen unless you kill it willfully. You just say, I've done my 1 year, I'm good, I'm stopping. But otherwise, if you go for as long as you can, you will make a stupid decision. You might be injured. And the reality is that life happens. Sometimes, and very often, running is great. I enjoy running. It's something that is very important to me. But there's many aspects in life that are so much more important than run streak. I think this is an extreme, but then you will have in between. And I remember online, there was this lady that maybe has a 10-year or 20-year streak, like a very impressive number. But at the same time, she's bragging about running on an ankle sprain. It's like, well, was it enjoyable to run on your ankle sprain? I don't think so. Was it a good run? I don't think so. Was it good for your fitness? I don't think so. Was it good for your entry? I don't think so. It's just such a weird thing to brag about. To me, it feels like bragging about having chlamydia. You know, hey, I had sex. Yeah, you did. But, okay, that's okay. Yeah, cool. So, and it's not to say anything against people that have run streak. I had my kind of streak myself, and I have made wrong decisions. So you have to be vigilant about that.
Are you crazy? Or just plain stupid?
Stupid is, stupid does, Mrs. Blue.
I guess.
You have sometimes to really sit down and ask yourself, why is this run happening? Is it for an arbitrary streak that, quite frankly, nobody cares about except yourself? Or is it because I want to go running? And I think that's where run streak are kind of weird, because at the beginning, the streak was helping you enjoy running and improve. So that's a great thing. But eventually it shifts towards not doing that and falling into trap where you cannot fine tune your training based on how your body is doing. You cannot fine tune, tapering and these things, because you have to go for runs and these things. So be vigilant about that. And I think the solution is just to be a little more flexible with the running every single day. A streak is a streak. It doesn't have to be a daily run streak. And someone like, you should tag him. Andrew Glaze has the 100 mile per week running streak, where every week he's running 100 miles, which is like a crazy volume, to be super honest. Like, I don't think everyone can sustain that, but he's a very good runner and is able to avoid injury. So good for him. But there is flexibility in that. There is flexibility because if for whatever reason, I remember, I think it was earlier this year, he had an injury and he couldn't go run or didn't run as much as he could for a few days. And that helped him make the right decision of, today I'm going to sit that down, or I'm going to run less. And then he was able to make up for it later in the weekend. My running streak, I had kind of two, I guess. One was that I was racing 100-mile ultramarathon at least every month. But, and I said it very early, I don't care about the streak per se. It doesn't have to be calendar month. As long as I do 12 a year, sometimes it will be more than one in a month, and sometimes there will be nothing. And sometimes I will skip a race because I'm not feeling that my body is doing well. The other streak that has caused me more trouble was, it's not really a streak, but it's this inflexible thinking. And that's just me trying to be introspective here. But I had no DNF up to 57 or 5,800 mile ultramarathon race. And the longer you have that streak of no DNF, then it made me make a bad decision. At Cruel Jewel, I was thinking 5 miles in, I'm injured right now. I shouldn't be racing, but I started. I have to finish. And it was all related to maybe the streak word is not the right thing, but this inflexible way of thinking of I have to finish every single time. That led to a massive injury, a lot of trouble that I'm still dealing with half a year later. And man, I was so stupid. I know better. I know better. But this kind of rigid form of thinking that has helped me drive towards these goals, that have helped me push through, other type of painful things that were not necessarily leading to injury. It was helpful, but I didn't harness the power in a positive way, and that made me stupid. And I really regret that, and I don't want that for any of you guys. So bottom line, running streak, they can be a great tool, especially when you see or detect that yourself, you're really struggling. You're in a period of your life that finding the time or the motivation to go out there is difficult. For me, the moment that this is most obvious is when work's it's just crazy. When I can't think anymore. I can't do anything. It's just I wake up early in the morning, have my coffee, go to work, work. Super stressful. Come back very late. See my wife, little kiss. We have dinner. we're tired, watch TV, fall asleep super late, and just this cycle. And a running streak can kind of like bang, kick me out of that. But myself, if I would do that, and I have done it a few times, I would say, okay, for the next 30 days, I'm gonna run every day. Or for the next, 4 weeks, I will follow a strict training plan. No excuse. The decision was made 1 month ago that I would run 18 miles on Sunday, and I just do it. But I put myself a time limit boundaries as to when I kind of earn back my decision-making privilege. Because at the end of the day, you have to be smart about running, you have to adjust these things, and you have to be empowered to make those decisions. At first, it's helpful that the decision is made for you, but eventually you earn back this power. But to each their own. Obviously, I have some reserve about, and you probably take that, I have some reserve about running streak. I think very often it's much more about appearance. It's much more about, almost bragging, right? Which, if that's your thing, good for you. But I think ultimately what I want with my channel is I want people to go out there and push their limit or enjoy running or do something that they want to. And a run streak can lead sometimes to a situation where actually you're forcing yourself to do it, and that's not positive. But I'm curious to hear, have you ever tried a run streak? Do you have a run streak? What do you think? Do you have suggestions for people? What were the benefits that you've seen? What were the traps that you've seen yourself? As always, thanks for watching. I do have a Patreon. If you appreciate my channel, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. Help this channel stay afloat. Really appreciate you watching this video. As always, thanks for watching and see you next time.